I am Nicholas Bornos of Capital Link, and I would like to welcome you to our panel on technology and decarbonization. You cannot really achieve decarbonization without mastering technology, which is a main driver towards the quest for decarbonization. And this panel is going to focus exactly on this, providing us with the aspect of a variety of important stakeholders. I thank the panelists for being with us. I will turn over the moderation to Pino Spadafora of RINA. Pino is the Marine Commercial Senior Director of RINA, and he will introduce the panelists, but I'd like to thank Salvatore, Konstantinos, Stamatis, and Mark, and Pino, the floor is yours, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. Thank you, of course, to Capital Link for organizing this event. Of course, I'm pleased to introduce our panelists today, which are Mark O'Neill, President of Columbia Shipmanagement, Salvatore D'Amico, which is CEO of Ishima, but also Fleet Director of D'Amico Shipping Group, Konstantinos Kyriakopoulos, which is co-founder of DeepSea Technologies, and Stamatis Tsantanis, which is CEO of Seanergy Maritime Holdings. Okay, the topic is, of course, very actual, technology and decarbonization. Today, when we think and we talk about decarbonization, of course, our idea is going immediately to net carbon zero solution, alternative fuels, green technologies, which today, yes, are very important to be practiced, to be tried and tested, because we have to create the possibilities to have an improved maturity of this technology and these alternative fuels. But the reality is that when it comes to availability, when it comes to containment system, when it comes to risk assessment, cost, investments, this solution, they are not yet very actual. And this is why the use of technology, which may help shipping industry to improve, to optimize the management, the technical management of our assets, which are the ships, of course, is becoming extremely important. And the synergy between technology and the decarbonization is the topic of this panel today. I would start from Mark. If Mark, you don't have anything against, and I would like to ask you, considering the growth that Columbia Shipmanagement is experiencing in the last years. I mean, starting from just to mention some of them: Saudi Aramco, CSM in Italy, but also recently Seaworld Management in Monaco. They are only few of the project that you have done recently. Giantism and scale effect factor are extremely important in your business for your company. Of course, to improve and to optimize this scale effect factor, you need technology, you need digitalization, you need a very solid digital platform. And this is also why your partnership with the Lufthansa, but also with the Adobe. So I would like to ask you if you can share with us this kind of project, this kind of partnership, which kind of effects they had and they are having right now in terms of decarbonization.
Thanks very much, Pino, and a warm welcome to everybody, and thanks very much to Capital Link for having me on this. And I come to you from the glorious surrounds of Costa Navarino, where I'm enjoying 10 days holiday, but a loyal Capital Link supporter I am, and therefore I'm on this panel, and thanks very much. Look, a lot of points you made there. First of all, I hate the word giantism. You know, this is all about scalability, and I think our industry needs to scale up in any which way it can to confront the challenges which lie ahead. And certainly the Columbia Group is scaling up and forging excellent partnerships with partners all around the world, and you mentioned some of them there, particularly in relation to the need for decarbonization going forward and the link between decarbonization and technology. And I think these two concepts are inextricably linked. We can't achieve decarbonization intelligently without the advances in technology, without the advances in digitalization. So I think as two concepts, they are inextricably linked. And to do that effectively, a small company like Columbia Shipmanagement needs to partner, needs to scale up with partners around the world. So that's exactly what we've done. And we have, as you know, Pino, we have our performance optimization control room, which I absolutely believe is the industry leader in optimization, in voyage optimization, and in decarbonization and carbon emission measuring, which is and was always one of the main objectives of our performance optimization control room. We will, for our clients and any client of that performance optimization control room, be able to plan the carbon emissions before any journey is embarked upon, and to measure the carbon emissions and indeed capture those carbon emissions and indeed capture carbon credits in this entirety of our business and offset the one against the other. Incredibly important that we're able to do so for our clients, for the clients' vessels under our management. So the performance optimization control room is just one of the areas. We're also partnering up with Total Energies in energy transformation and fuel transformation, looking at testing different fuels on board our vessels and on board our managed vessels, be it methanol, be it hydrogen, etc. We're part of, right at the heart of many of these projects, looking at alternative fuels, including battery power. We've partnered up with an excellent company, Hydrus in Greece, which we're looking at battery power for the last 10 kilometers into port and the first 10 kilometers out. So looking at all of these different areas, looking at greenification with Saudi Aramco, looking at the greenification of the fleet of vessels operating in the Gulf. These are all concepts that you can't deal with as a small little company, Columbia. You have to scale up, you have to partner. And that's what we've been calling for in this industry. And I think the industry is reacting well to this. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. You were mentioning CO2 emission monitoring measurement. Is obvious that while before our in our industry, you were judging, let's say, an asset like a ship based on fuel consumption. Today, the paradigm is a little bit different. You have to judge your assets more in terms of CO2 emission. I mean, things are linked, but the approach is a little bit different. And I see that in your digital platform, of course, you have this kind of solution. In this respect, I would like to ask also Konstantinos, because in their Cassandra system, there is an emission tracking solution that they are promoting, they are using. So I would like to know how the system is working, and eventually, I mean, which kind of a real application they are doing in terms of decarbonization. Thank you so much, Mark. And sorry, just to make the discussion a little bit more agile.
Sure, Mark, do you want to go first?
I think the question is directed to you.
Okay. So essentially, as you said, fuel consumption and CO2 emissions are very closely linked. If you have either good records what fuel you're burning at any time, or as we can do if we can figure out what fuel you're burning indirectly from the sensor metrics, from the fuel inlet, the temperatures and so on of the engine, then it's relatively simple to calculate and track the CO2 emissions. What we will do for our customers in the first place is look at the infrastructure they have in place for collecting data, and where possible, encourage the installation of sensors, and then integrate with those sensors, electronically calibrate them, diagnose using AI the quality of the data, which is very important. If you don't have good data, you can't do anything else. And then once we have a good solution for tracking what the CO2 is, we can start looking into optimizing. As Pino, you mentioned at the beginning, there are a lot of very promising but extremely long-term plans for carbon zero or net zero technologies for CO2 emissions. But there is this very large opportunity for low-hanging fruits right away in vessels as they are now, as they're being operated now, in terms of making them more efficient and removing the extra fuel consumption and CO2 emissions that are coming due to the lack of predictability in the vessel. So things like the choice of speeds, the choice of routes, the choice of when to clean the hull of a vessel can have an enormous impact, even plus minus 30 to 40% on the fuel consumption for the same voyage to the same destination in the same time. By using the most advanced deep learning technology to have a good model of the vessel that incorporates all the data, that is able to model hull fouling as a latent variable, and that is able to use multiple vessels, and this is where scale comes in, to learn from each other, we're able to deliver optimizations that have tangible savings, right? So we can prove usually between 6 and 10% savings on the fuel consumption of our customers' vessels, demonstrably relative to historical performance, using just voyage optimization and speed optimization without needing to change anything that reduces the profitability of the way you're operating the vessel.
Salvatore, may I jump on the same topic, more or less? When it comes to monitoring, I see that for D'Amico Group, monitoring and data acquisition has been for the last years really very important. I mean, a great part of your strategy, a great part of your vision. I don't know if you want to share with us what you have done and what you are doing when it comes to monitoring system. I know that you have done some installation for part of your fleet, but also a very challenging project in relation to paperless and electronic logbook for some of your ships, which is also of course part of the technology, and of course having an important effect on the consumption and on the decarbonization.
Good morning, Pino, and good morning to everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me in this panel. So first of all, we need to start from the history, and basically the history is that we started our performance monitoring department, if I'm not wrong, 18 years ago. I think we were among the first to start such a department inside our company. And I remember that at the time when I was sharing with my uncle and my father about the fact that we were going to have someone to monitor the fuel consumption, they said, but this is something that will become very, very important in the future. But it's good that we start now so that we can be ahead of the curve. And as a matter of fact, one thing which has not changed since then is the fact that all our data are stored and kept in-house on our special database, which has been developed by us. So basically today we have, we can very easily in any moment check how the vessel has performed since day one to up to now, and compare the different kind of vessel and so on. Obviously, in the time, digitalization has changed a lot the paradigm. And in fact, in the recent years in particular, we have evaluated several systems. Among those, we have decided to use Optimum, developed by RINA, as a tool to monitor on an active basis all our vessels. This allows us, also third-party vessels, as a matter of fact, this software allows us to really monitor live what is happening on board, including the usage of equipment, the load on the generators, how many generators are in use, and so on. And this basically has allowed us to move ashore the monitoring of the efficiency of the ship. This means that today is not anymore only the vessel ensuring that there is always the maximum efficiency on board, but is always the short side who is on a daily basis checking that we are maintaining as low consumption as it is possible, both on the main engine and on the generator all the time. I heard someone speaking before about efficiency in the operation of the main engine. Obviously, with the digitalization, which is now allowing us, the technology of communication is allowing us to have data in real time also of the main engine and of the auxiliary engine. This allows us also to optimize the engine according to weather conditions and so on. So we went from receiving the data to using weather routing service, and then today is a completely, today is a real game changer. We are today in a completely different scenario. Besides that, we also wanted to make life for our seafarers on board a little bit easier, and this has been the reason why we have decided to use the electronic logbook. The electronic logbook, which, as you know, D'Amico has been the first company to have it approved by a flag administration and used widely on all the fleet, has been a big game changer, because this basically allows us to monitor in real time what is happening on board, but also avoid any mistake by the ship staff, in the sense that today the ship staff, whenever they write an operations on the electronic logbook, automatically this goes in the for example in the oil record book and so on, and this makes life for our seafarers much easier on board. Besides the fact that the electronic logbook is engineerized in such a way that it doesn't allow you to do internal transfer, improper internal transfer. So, for example, if you need to move between two tanks on board, and you cannot do that unless you put a dispensation from the flag inside the system, it will not allow you to do the operation. So I think this has been a very smart way also to help the crew to have a very easy life on board and make their life easier in the respect of the environment, which is for us a top priority. And this was the main reason why we have invested so hugely in this, and why we have convinced our client to invest in this, third-party ship management client to invest in this, is the fact that there is a very good take for the environment and for our people on board. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Salvatore. Thank you for these insights. Of course, Stamatis, the market today, I mean, is obvious, especially if we look at the trends of the new building, is today again for, I mean, in the hands of the shipyard, we can say like this. But this is also extremely important, especially when it comes to setting a digital, a technology maturity of a new building. Having, for instance, some good preparation of a technical specification when you are considering, when you are ordering a new building, but not only the technology, but also the fuel efficiency. So setting a fuel efficiency for your ship, for your asset with the shipyards is extremely important. So do you think, especially because today with a lot of pilot projects, with a lot of approval in principle, GDP projects, do you think we will reach a point where we will have a standard approach for technology, but also for energy efficiency and energy solution?
Well, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. And Pino, thank you for hosting this. And Nicola, thank you so once again for this tremendously important initiative to try and bring industry people into the forefront of whatever is happening. I've been saying a lot, and I will repeat it once again, that the shipping industry, in respect of technology, is going to go one of its major transformational changes that it hasn't really experienced for at least 50 years. The internal combustion engine, as we know it, and everything else are now in question because we don't know what the threshold of 2030 is going to bring. So to answer your question about standardization of the electronic platforms and the energy saving devices and whatever is the system that is going to monitor, consumption and performance on the ship, I would say that we are in one of the most fragmented phases in history. Everybody's trying to really come up with its own system. We in Seanergy, we use DeepSea, and we're very, very happy with DeepSea, and we have seen actual and tangible results. But at the same time, there's so many platforms that I'm pretty sure are good enough for the wider shipping industry. We use DeepSea, and we're very happy about that. Now, before we see a consolidation of the platforms and before we see how that is going to prevail in the future, we have to really find out the base and the structural change, which is what is going to be the engine of tomorrow, what's going to be the fuel of tomorrow. These are the fundamental questions that the industry is facing now. You have 13,000 bulk carriers, you have about 50 or 60,000 ocean-going ships. The number is huge, it's immense what needs to be done in a very short period of time. So in my opinion, before we see a consolidation of platforms and consolidation of systems, we really need to find out what's going to be the prevailing technology, what's going to be the prevailing ship. And given the very short time we have ahead of us, which is less than 9 years for the implementation of the 2030 rules, we're already super too late. So once we see that, then we can discuss about consolidation of platforms and the technologies on board the ship to monitor the actual effect of whatever is going to be.
Thank you, Stamatis. Mark, going back to technology, we see that you have, but I mean, you started since a very long time a very huge project when it comes to e-learning. Also, thanks to the partnership with the Adobe. I mean, you are using this solution to keep your crew updated, but not only. But e-learning basically it means also reduction of classroom. It means also reduction of trips, reduction of risk, reduction of personnel movements. So I mean transport. So when you started this project, you had already in mind the effects on the decarbonization, because I mean e-learning has a really a big impact.
Absolutely, and I think like the majority of us on this conference, we're looking at how we can use technology to better perform, and training of our crew and training of our personnel ashore as well, let's not forget those, is vital in this whole decarbonization process, because it's no point myself and the rest of us on this call being convinced and trying to push that. We have to persuade everybody within our organizations and everybody on board our vessels. So therefore, the education of our crew on board, particularly in decarbonization, particularly in the need for optimization and to protect the environment, to comply with MARPOL regulations is absolutely vital. And, we regularly roll out our environmental courses to our crew. We work hand in glove with One Learn Global, which is our e-learning platform education provider, which we find is excellent and very, very flexible, because it gives us the courses that we want for our particular ships, for our particular seamen, rather than commoditization of seaman trading and also onshore training. So I think absolutely vital. Education is crucial so that we all come at this from the same start point and fully understand the need. And, I fully endorse the comments made by others in that regard too.
Very good, Mark. Talking about e-learning, I mean, we cannot avoid to think about remote inspection technologies, and because this also has been a very nice tool and technology tool to help the continuity of the business in the shipping during the pandemic situation. Salvatore, I think I remember very well, you have been one, together with our other guest, one of the pioneers in using remote technology for doing inspections. I remember very well one full annual survey, class and statutory, which was done on board of your ship. But now it looks like after the pandemic, we are experiencing some resistance from charters, sometimes also from the flag administration. Probably they underestimate the fact that remote inspection techniques, they are also meaning decarbonization. What do you think about?
I think that we need to put everything in perspective, and we need to start with a little bit of background. When COVID started, our top priority has always been the safety of the crew. And allowing people to go on board to conduct an annual survey, even if you had a surveyor in that port, was not a good decision to preserve the health of our crew members. Ships are at sea, and we could not ensure that the crew would remain in a safe way. And this was the reason why we played it very hard with the administration in order to obtain that we were doing everything remotely. And they responded very positively, understanding the importance of the safety of the crew as the top priority. It was not only a matter of having the vessel in a remote island, it was also a matter of a vessel being in Singapore, where it was not safe to send a superintendent on board to inspect the vessel. That said, obviously things has changed. We have seen a certain flag state going back to where they were before. Some others are maintaining the current position. Personally, I think that the remote inspection are a very big opportunity. Imagine that we have a vessel which is sailing from Brazil to Singapore, and suddenly a generator experienced a breakdown. During normal time, we would have either sailed the vessel into South Africa and stop it there to wait class to inspect the vessel, or we would sail it to Singapore. Sometimes some, let's say, I want to call them brave, but they were not brave. Some, let's say, ship owners, brave ship owners, were even not declaring this to the flag state and to the class till 2 days before arriving in Singapore. Now, the opportunity of remote inspection has completely changed this, because we don't have to deviate the vessel anymore. We can call the class can do a remote inspection, and we have our temporary class condition, which is issued immediately as soon as this happens, and vessel remains in class without any problem, because we never have to forget that one of the things which is required by our insurance on board of the vessel is that the vessel is in class. And if you have a vessel where you have 3 generators and 1 generator is out of order, or 1 pump is out of order, or the fire pump breaks down and so on, the vessel is not anymore in class. So the only way to sort it out is by obtaining a dispensation from the flag or from the classification society and so on. And for sure, the fact that they can use such a tool as remote inspection makes their life and makes our life much, much, much easier. So I think it's going to stay, it's going to remain. COVID has only boosted this forward, but at the same time, we need also to accept the fact as ship owner that we have to accept that class superintendent and so on come again on board from time to time to inspect things. There is also another added benefit. For example, if you talk about the inspection of a ballast tank, obviously when the vessel is at sea and is in laden condition, you cannot stop the vessel to inspect the ballast tank. And to have a superintendent from the class attending a certain inspection might be very expensive. If you can do it remotely, this will allow the class to inspect much more of what would have been expected by stopping the vessel somewhere. And so the job will be done in a much, much better way. So I think that is not only a matter of saving bunker, it's not only a matter of saving on the decarbonization side, but it's also a matter of ensuring that our vessels are much safer in the respect of the environment.
The remote inspection, in my opinion, but I think you can share this, give you the possibility to have on board 24/7 an expert, which is from a class, but can be also from an engine maker, a manufacturer, whatever. So, Mark, before you said at certain point that technology is increasing also the safety level of the crew on board. I mean, is it true? I mean, the fact that
I think Pino, I always like engaging with Salvatore, but I don't believe for one moment that technology or remote inspections will ever replace boots on the deck and having an inspector on board looking at the vessel, inspecting the vessel. There is no substitute for that. Technology can assist, and in certain circumstances it can assist very ably, but I don't think there's anybody who would seriously contend that the remote inspections that we all had in place during COVID could ever come close to the effectiveness of having an inspector coming on board the vessel and having boots on deck. And it's a simple fact. You know, we all suffered during COVID by not having the ability to have surveyors, inspectors on board, and we manfully did our very level best to introduce other means to ensure the standard of the vessels were kept up, but it doesn't substitute. And I think that's something that we must all accept. So as we come out of COVID, and we're able now, obviously, to get people back on decks, of course, the condition of our vessels, condition of everybody's vessels, goes up. But we need this tool, and certainly COVID was an accelerator of technology, a massive accelerator of technology, and we're now able to connect with our crew on board in many different ways. Similarly, I personally don't believe that we should be taking away, when we talk about logbooks, etc., we should be taking away this responsibility too much or supporting too much those on board whose job it is to ensure that there is no disallowed inter-tank transfer, etc. You know, the master and the officers on board must remain in control. And I think if we assume too much of that responsibility through technology or otherwise, then we actually, and this is the point of your question, I think, we reduce the safety of the vessel. You know, the master of old took all those decisions, and 99% of the time they were the right decisions. We have to very clearly leave that responsibility there and not assume the responsibility. We can aid, we can provide assistance, but we mustn't take away. I think that's really important.
Probably Nicholas, he has to arrange another session of Capital Link talking about, in this respect, for instance, about autonomous ship. It will be very nice to listen also your opinion about this. But now we are on another topic. Konstantinos, in your Cassandra Light version, I see that you have a specific target when it comes to sea cargo owner, but also sea cargo charter. So can you tell us about these? I mean, obviously, especially the charters, they are very, very much concerned about CO2 emission, about CO2 taxation, the emission trading scheme is not is not indeed an emission trading, but is a taxation scheme. So can you tell us how the system is helping these charters and the cargo owners?
Great. So all of our systems are intended to be able to be accessed by both ship owners and charters, depending on the agreement between the two, because both of them are stakeholders in the fuel consumption of the vessel. And both of them have require reporting from the vessel. Both of them want the vessel to be optimized. And also the charter needs to consent to a lot of the things that need to be done for a vessel to be able to be optimized. So there was a question from Sanga Aberatne, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, which I answered in text of the Q&A, which was about a very common problem, which is charterers that tell ships to go at full speed in order to be able to reach ports in time. And so if the charter is not part of the loop in terms of the fuel consumption calculations, they don't have access to a model of the vessel based on the best available data that could tell them, look, you can do this if you want, but that is the most inefficient way of routing the vessel and will result in possibly tens of thousands of dollars more in fuel costs and a different CII rating even compared to delaying one day. Then you end up with inefficient decision making, and you also end up with decision making being too much hostage to legacies of the shipping industry, such as the traditional charter party agreement and instructed speeds and fixed street speeds and so on, which make it very difficult to reach an optimal solution. So our long-term vision is to bring people as much as possible from both the owner-operator side into the equation. Now, Cassandra Light, which you asked about in particular, is based on a very specific technological competence that we have, and to our knowledge, no one else in the industry has, which is we are able to use deep learning models trained on vessels that have high frequency data available, and use transfer learning, which is a technology that was invented for speech processing, and is a reason why, for example, you can talk into Siri and it will recognize your voice immediately without being trained on your voice specifically from other voices. You can use transfer learning to transfer models that have been trained on other vessels to a specific vessel using just noon report data and vessel particulars to calibrate. And so this gives, the light version gives an initial access to monitoring, reporting, fouling detection, and overconsumption estimation, and incoherent reported data detection to both the ship owner and the charter. And so soon we'll also be releasing a routing tool that gives the type of vessel tailored routing we can do with high frequency data also in this low frequency case.
Thank you very much, Konstantinos. Stamatis, I see you have a quite young fleet. I think is less than 11 years old fleet, and of course you have to look at CII, probably not EXI like a main concern, but I mean, after the first calculation of the CII, probably that you can manage with the engine power reduction or Shapley approach, but probably you have to do also something else. I mean, especially if you want to keep your fleet below the requirements of the CII, which is going to reduce every year. So, which kind of technology, if you can share, you are considering to keep the pace of the CII for the next years?
That's a great question, Pino, because we have started since 2015 not only to install the remote performance monitoring systems, but also in cooperation with the charters in 2018, we started installing energy saving devices. I cannot give you an answer, not because I don't want to, but each particular ship requires a different measure. So depending on the size and where the ship has been built and what vintage and what not, you apply different energy saving device initiatives. In some cases, the coating alone makes the biggest change by far. In other cases, the Mavis ducts or whatever ducts you install on the propellers, or the Boss cap fins, or a combination of all the above, actually make a huge difference in the efficiency of the ships. We strongly believe that the existing fleet in the water can be more efficient by installing energy-saving devices, by smart weather planning and routing, like Konstantinos just mentioned, which in my mind it's completely inexplicable why 99.9% of the owners are not using it. It's beyond my understanding why this simple thing is not applied on all the ships globally. So the thing is that we will be able to catch the CII day one, but I remind you, unfortunately, that the CII will have a progressive application, which means that every year it's only going to be becoming worse and worse. And given the fact that we already have like very, very few, a lot of ships in the water, and the penetration and implementation of all these measures is not so fast as someone would expect, I'm very concerned that when we hit 2016, which is literally around the corner, we will have a problem. I don't really see how the current fleet is going to be meeting, you know, the CII regulations of 2026 and onwards. So I'm very concerned with doing whatever we can in Seanergy. We cannot rebuild the ship, but we cannot order new ships because we don't know what the technology of tomorrow is going to look like. But as far as the existing ship is concerned, I think that we're doing everything we can in order to make the fleet more efficient, including limited, of course, the power reduction and all the power limitation.
Stamatis, you say that we have already a lot of ships on the water, but yes, if you combine, for instance, slow steaming, which we were using already, with now this technology solution like route optimization, voyage optimization, of weather forecast, etc. I mean, this is a just-in-time solution. I think this is probably will increase. I mean, will require more and more ships. What is this that you are expecting?
Sorry to interrupt you, Pino, but that's an amazing point. But it works only if you have a healthy fleet replacement program. I remind you that the fleet order book is usually 0 to 2% because nobody is willing to invest in new ships for two reasons: the technology of tomorrow and also the price differential between a 5-year-old, 10-year-old and a new building ship. So when you have a natural replacement schedule, then of course that makes great sense because the ships in the water pretty much remain constant. Of course, we know in history that the replacement schedule is usually unhealthy because people try to put too many orders when the rates are high. In our case now, when you have a zero order book and the ship's average age is getting older and older, you can have a natural churn rate. So a lot of ships will be exiting the water in the next few years. I mean, 60% of the fleet right now is built in 2012 and previous to that. So it's already a quite middle-aged fleet. I mean, what's going to happen in 5 years from tomorrow when most of the fleet will have hit 15 years, which is the limit for many charters to operate? All the ships will become redundant. So
thank you so much.
I don't see that happening.
Thank you so much for sharing with us your vision on this. I mean, we have concluded our panel. Of course, technology is helping decarbonization. I would say that is enabling decarbonization and is validating all the activities that we are doing in terms of decarbonization. Our time is over for now. I would like to thank again Nicholas and Capital Link and all of you for giving your contribution to this panel. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pino.